A very good afternoon to all of you. Among the many things that people have said to introduce me, I only just want to highlight something that is very close to my heart and very intrinsic to my identity, and that is of being a transgender woman. As a transgender woman, right through my childhood days, I've experienced extreme transphobia. In my schooling days, in the days when I went to college, including the time that I had to drop out twice from my educational institution. However, I think God had different plans for me, and my journey has been largely successful because I was willing to fight the system, willing to create that niche for myself. But even today, according to a 2020 report by the Gay and Lesbian Straight Education Network, the bullying of LGBTQ students is at an unprecedented high. Unprecedented high in 2021, almost at 70%. Would you believe that? But the fact is that we must deal with this data. We must read it and perhaps weep at it too. All of the happy and hopeful polls and thoughts about younger generations that can take the hike and exit the stage right now. Because can you imagine going to a school where teachers cannot discuss or address a key aspect of your life and personality? In most cases, you or your parents or your guardians or your sponsors pay taxes. And imagine not even getting education which is relevant to what you are or what you aspire to be. A couple of days ago, I was listening to a song by Whitney Houston. And I believe the lyrics of the song of Whitney Houston to be, "The children are our future." But the next three words are, "Teach them well." Isn't it clear that many kids are not getting this message? That if children are our future, we need to teach them well. So if we want to measure progress by students in the schools, we definitely aren't doing well. We are short, way short by a long shot, and it's bad for all of us. What we have is clearly isn't enough. It has never been. And yet people who are not our allies want to snatch what we have, what we painfully got over the many years of our struggle in India, in the region, and globally. I'm here actually to smack those hands. Yes, smack those hands, because I've had enough. I've had enough of never having enough. As a trans woman, as a gender non-conforming person, as someone who's on the lines of intersectionality, until we get what's right from the stuff that's what's left for us, each and every pride parade will have rain, and we'll need to pull curtains and cover the sun with snarky and stark shade. Because as it is, all of the setup for LGBTQ kids, it's not really safe outside until the kids who are bullying gets fixed, which is on the inside. In this, I see homework on the table for parents, for educators, for administrators, for policy builders. Buckle up, get to work. And remember, for all the kids around me, people who are still studying, to young persons, study hard and always do your best. I think there are plenty of cues and cases. So I want to know, where are you? And whether as a parent, as an educator, as an administrator, are you careless too? It's been 3 years since Section 377 Indian Penal Code was read down by the Honorable Supreme Court of our country. While there is no longer a law, amongst other things, which actually prevented teachers from speaking with their pupils about homosexuality, about gender non-conformity. The legacy of Section 377 is something that generations of children, young persons and adolescents have to inherit. LGBTQ persons who came of age in the era of Section 377, someone like me, will describe how bullying was rife, and while teachers can now intervene when they witness homophobic and transphobic bullying, in our time, in the laws era, it normalized the harmful culture of LGBTQ related bullying in schools and educational institutes. And it is perhaps why, in research conducted by 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗲, Mr. Global Research, 3/4 of Generation Z and millennials say that LGBTQ communities face a great or a fair deal of discrimination, compared to just 54% of baby boomers and Gen X. And while leaps and bounds have been made in creating inclusivity and equality for all sexualities and genders, Gen X is certainly not willing to stop here. 47% of them feel that progress to LGBTQ rights has not gone far enough. The question of education. I remember how Section 377 and its interpretation by Educational Institute Academia was so deep-rooted in preventing education around LGBTQ matters. Specifically, it prevented local authorities from intentionally promoting homosexuality, as well as publishing material with the intention of promoting homosexuality. There was this blanket ban on education. It still continues, even decades after. And that is why it is more important than ever to talk about it today. Gen Z, as I believe, have been quick to recognize that sexuality and gender education is instrumental to their personality, to their well-being, to their future. There have been some changes. I have been fortunate to have been associated with the United Nations and to a program that was launched by UNESCO. It was a campaign called Purple My School, which talked about bullying on the basis of SOGI in educational institutes and schools. In India, forward-thinking organizations and institutions like the 𝗓𝗺𝗲 School participated and partnered in India. During the 3rd year anniversary celebrations around the reading down of Section 377, I happened to be part of one of their interventions on the anniversary date. And it was extremely heartening to see young persons putting on their interpretation of what it means to be inclusive, and by thought, by design, and by action. I believe that for many Gen Z persons, this corner, enabled by social media, could be a safe space to be out, to express themselves, and to learn about what it means to be growing up being LGBTIQ. While no social media realm is completely safe from homophobia and transphobia, it is certainly a surge in the right direction. I think organizations like Pride Circle and others are doing a phenomenal job of bringing people, especially young persons, through this summit together, and educators and parents, is pushing it to the right direction. And this, I believe, would be the future for Gen Z and for LGBTQ persons. I also know from my association of working in an organization like KPMG that Gen Z have very strong ethics and values. They have an innate capacity to understand and educate on how LGBT rights intersect with other movements, say like Black Lives Matter, or caste, or religion, and gender equality. All of these seem far greater than their older peers. And I say this with total responsibility because I am an older peer to some of the Gen Z in my office. On the whole, I believe that all the Gen Zs who are listening in, you are a new generation because you are activists, you are disruptors, and you have inherited a much better world than someone like me who's still an elder. And this is the fight. This is something that you are ready to continue to fight for equality on all fronts. And I believe here is your chance to influence change. Specifically, if you are a corporate, I believe there will be people from the corporate listening in. Work with your Gen Z, Gen Y, your baby boomers. Call out homophobia and transphobia. Find ways of symbiotic learning and mentoring between different age groups. Leadership counts. This, I believe, will really go a long way ahead. Towards the end, I would just like to say that you've probably heard this line many times in the past. Love conquers hate. But I must say this with caution, because I believe it's a very long and arduous road ahead. A road where we will need all friends, supporters, and allies to come along, to stand tall, and to be with our fight in ensuring that LGBTI inclusion is no longer a dream. And as I generally love to end with the शायरी, दिल नामुमकिन तो नहीं नामुमकिन ही तो है, लंबी है गम की शाम पर शाम ही तो है. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to address you this evening.